The transport sector is one of the most important parts of the global economy. If the transport industry suffers, so does a country's economy. Whether it's your everyday public transport use or trucks moving freight, this sector is in dire need of an overhaul to become more sustainable. Some companies within the sector realise the importance of becoming sustainable and have shifted their operations to accommodate this. In today's programme, Executive TV will speak to some of these companies pioneering change, gaining insight into their operations and some of the main challenges they face.
Schweitzer Electronic first started in Switzerland in 1964. It was set up by Mr. and Mrs. Schweitzer. It's a family-run business, set up in a small village in Zofingen, Switzerland, central Switzerland, and they set the business up in 1984. It was taken over by their son, Peter Schweitzer, in 1988. He is still the CEO and owner of the business. In 2005, they made a foray into the UK rail industry, and they were primarily focused on keeping people safe on tracks. What they've done since then, and since I joined the business in 2020, is that we focused on not only keeping workers safe on tracks, but also the public. And that's where we are at the moment with the business. Yeah, we focus primarily on three areas of the railway industry. Two of them focus on radio remote control. One is remote control of shunting yards, diesel locomotives, low speed operations within areas where there are movements of trains. Secondly, in that area, we have our track warning systems. And the track warning systems primarily focus on keeping the people in the orange suits on the railway safe. And whether that be in the UK, across in Europe, elsewhere. And then thirdly, we look at our rail automation business, which is our level crossings business. And that people automatically assume a level crossing has got barriers, it's got flashing lights and sirens. That's not every level crossing. The main focus of level crossings is on foot crossings, where they far outnumber the level crossings that you see with barriers.
We're a plant hire company, but also a specialist services company. So what we do is we supply all our plant operated. So we currently have about 750 people around the UK operating a variety of plant, from trucks, cranes, road, rail vehicles, and every other specialist piece of kit that construction and rail industry needs.
So a typical project that Quattro Plant work on the railway is on major infrastructure projects, track renewals, and standard network rail maintenance. The maintenance projects is the day-to-day running of the railway to keep it safe for all of the passengers. The track renewals, where we renew the complete track, including all of the ballast. And the major projects can be anything from civils, buildings, to track works.
The UK's transport sector is in a process of decarbonisation. From how the foundations of train tracks are laid to the electrification of transport systems, there are many steps being taken by companies to embrace sustainability.
So the UK is embracing sustainability. We are adopting a number of efficiencies and sustainable activities, especially across the wind generation, solar generation, or solar power generation. And what we're doing in those areas, we will always get the naysayers who say, well, actually, to bring something green in, you've got to pollute the atmosphere by pouring concrete. We're constantly looking at ways where we don't have to pour concrete, by actually using existing materials to reduce cost, reduce the impact on the environment, especially when we install something. So when we install, we don't pour concrete, we don't dig holes, we don't take too long to do it. We actually put things into like helical screw piles with platforms. It's far more efficient, it's more cost effective, it saves time, and it lasts as long, if not longer, than concrete. So bringing in the sustainable items within the industry, and within any engineering industry, there will always be people who question. That's what engineers do. I have an analogy where I sit there and I say, I have a question, or I'll raise a point to 100 engineers, and I'll get 100 questions back. I'll add one more engineer, and I'll generate a further 102 questions. And that's what the good thing about engineering is, questioning. Sometimes it's frustrating, sometimes it's not. But those engineers are the ones that drive the sustainability of the industries that we work in.
Sustainability to Quattro originally started off knowing that we had to with a big fleet of diesel-emitting engines, we knew that we were a major greenhouse gas emitter, and we needed to do something about that. Hence why we started a relationship with the University of Exeter about 6-7 years ago. It's turned since then into a little bit more. We've had a total look at our entire corporate social responsibility, and it now includes, we've brought sustainability in with equality, diversity and inclusion, and modern slavery into one large document, really, I suppose, so that we're trying to match our social responsibility in a proper manner and in a measured manner.
The current state of the transport sector is, I believe, we're in a good transition period. There's heavy focus on electric vehicles at the moment, which, if you look on the balance of things, they're not cost-effective solutions. Bringing in battery power, heading towards carbon neutrality 2030 or 2050, I don't think is right at the moment. I think it has to be 2050 and beyond, purely because we haven't got the sustainable infrastructure to actually promote EV. Also, we haven't got the services around the EV infrastructure, such as how do you deal with a conflagration from a battery fire? At the moment, it's let it burn. That doesn't sound good, but that's all we can do at the moment, because the technology to protect us from anything that goes wrong hasn't been developed fully. And if it has been developed, it's not being promoted sufficiently, or it's come up against hurdles, approval. Does it have an impact? Does it have an impact? And these are the questions that have to be answered. And there are ways to answer them quickly, and there are ways to answer them efficiently. But at the moment, we're taking too long. And we're also pushing things towards our government to do it, when in fact we can actually do those things ourselves. It's a democracy we live in. If we promote self-sufficiency within our nation, it will help us. And there are companies out there in the rail industry, in other industries, there's other companies like us, where we actually say, do you know what, we don't know what we want to do yet, but we know a company that do, and we'll partner with a company. So as part of our future, if you like, and how we develop. At the moment, we're a supplier of crossings, a supplier of materials. What we're looking to do is develop into a supplier and installer, a turnkey solution provider. And so we've partnered with a couple of smaller businesses like ourselves to give something back to the industry in a more cost-effective way and a more sustainable way.
X-Rail Group has recently partnered with Schweizer Electronics to offer a bespoke turnkey level crossing solution. X-Rail brings the installation expertise, so we are able to offer a one-stop shop to our railway infrastructure customers. X-Rail Group provides a turnkey solution all the way from initial survey and design through to commissioning and installation of our railway infrastructure. So X-Rail, first of all, is a principal contractor licence holder identified by Network Rail. So in essence, we are given the approval and are audited and recognised as a principal contractor on the infrastructure, which obviously is a great accolade in itself. But the core values that we offer, I believe, is all centred around us being an SME. We don't have the large governance processes that some of the larger companies have, and we are able to mobilise our solutions very quickly and successfully as a result. In addition to that, we don't have major overheads within our organisation, so therefore we are able to offer more cost-effective solutions to our customers.
To make the transport sector more sustainable is going to take quite a bit. Certainly, I think the biggest hurdle to market is cost. It's massively expensive. The second biggest issue is how do you recharge the equipment when it's on a railway line in the middle of nowhere at 4 o'clock in the morning. That's a real tough question. I mean, you can see that with just electric car charging, how difficult that's going to be. We'll take it on a railway where there's no infrastructure, there's no access, is very poor. It's really, really going to be difficult, and it's going to take a massive piece of work by the infrastructure owner to provide points if electric is the way to go. If it could be something else, could be methanol, could be hydrogen. Again, though, you're still going to need places where you can charge. So it's going to be it's not as quick a process as I think as everyone would like it to be. And I don't think we're going to hit 2030. We're aiming for 2050, which is in line with the government. That's fine. And I think it will take that time to get it into a position that is affordable and achievable. But it is difficult.
Many companies within the transport sector have taken the right internal steps to reduce their carbon output. This comes in many shapes, including the electrification of fleet and the use of renewables for power.
Sustainability to us at Schweitzer means that we're embracing new technology. We're looking at ways to do things simpler. We're looking at ways in which we don't have to go out and about to do things. There will always be a need for boots on the ground, as they say, because track doesn't replace itself, cables don't replace themselves. But how we find out whether the track is faulty, how we find out whether the cables are faulty, that's where we can improve, and that's where we can actually do things better. We're developing products that allow people to remotely access systems so that we can detect faults sooner rather than later. And working with industry partners and developing joint products is where we aim for. We're looking at ways in which we can partner with companies in geofencing solutions, for instance, so that our track warning systems work alongside a geofencing solution to keep people safe. It's very simple technology, and it's very simple to understand. I'm a salesman. I will always turn around and say, of course we can do it. There are engineers who will say, can we? Of course we can. Keep it as simple as possible. Develop the product. Keep it simple. If people question, fine, answer the questions. Don't hide. But let's develop that technology, and that's how we can be more sustainable, is to actually keep things simple.
So we've committed to reduce our emissions by 42% of greenhouse gas emissions by 2030. We've so far achieved 11 of that 42%. The big majority of that will come when we change our van fleet to electric vehicles, which we will have to do. We know that. That's probably going to be in 3 years' time, and that will be a big step change for us, and we will do that. The work we're doing here and with the university to get our main fleet of excavators reducing is going to be a bit slower, and again, that's high cost. I keep referring to the high cost. Unfortunately, it's there, and it's very difficult for us to work our way around that. We'd all love to find a cheap solution, of course we would, but that's not easy at the moment. Again, we've got people looking at hydrogen, we've got people looking at the batteries, and then you've got the problem where you're going to throw the battery when their life expired. It's what it is. It's a lot of problems to be solved. But I think we can achieve, as a company, we can achieve what we've set out to do. Whether the country as a whole can do what it's been set to do by the government, I have my doubts.
So all of our works that we were working on within the infrastructure, where possible, we were trying to reduce our carbon footprint. We're doing this through various different tasks regarding Tier 5 engines, our no idle policy that we have on site, and also we are trying to find new ways of reducing our current combustible engines, diesel burn rate, using additives and various different technologies that's currently on the market. We are currently exploring various different types at this moment in time. We've also moved on to the EV machines, where we are trying to create and upcycle machines that we currently have from combustible engine machines to EV powered machines. So the vehicle behind me is a Neotech 1600 road rail mute, which we have upcycled to turned it into an EV mute, which can do all of the same work that a combustible engine can do within an 8-hour shift. The vehicle operates both on road and rail and can be charged using the standard car chargers that you will see in any motorway services, or you can have fitted into your houses. So we've currently removed the diesel engine and replaced with batteries and an electric motor. Everything else in the machine has become standard. We haven't changed any of the controls. It is all running off the same hydraulic motors to keep the amount of usage and amount of carbon down that regarding new parts, etc., etc. We are looking to take this technology and extend it across a wide range of groups that we have within the fleet, all upcycling of the vehicles, reducing the carbon, reducing the need to build new machines, and giving the machines a new lease of life.
The transport sector grapples with many challenges in the UK, specifically cost. With how important the transport sector is to the global economy, these challenges must not remain unaddressed.
So some of the main challenges to transition to net zero that I foresee are that we're driving towards net zero in what people use. What people use is great. Electric vehicles, electric buses, electric trains, transport infrastructure is fantastic, but we haven't developed the infrastructure around those elements sufficiently to actually make it a safer place to be. So although it may be net zero, it's not safe. And it's been proven time after time with battery cars being bursted into flames. For that, the fire brigade have to let them burn. That means we've not developed sufficiently the ways to fight those fires. And to me, that's a big, big issue. That means we can't, because you can't attack a fire with an electric fire engine, because that fire engine is also unsafe around an electric fire. And therefore you have to use diesel. Is it safe to use, is it right to use diesel when you're trying to be sustainable? Yeah. According to the government, no. So that means that we need a better way to deal with things. And I don't think those areas have been developed. And if they have, they've not been promoted nearly enough. So we need to promote that more. I think if people feel safe within a sustainable environment, within a net zero environment, they'll embrace it more. But at the moment, we will always have yes or no. There'll always be that conflict between them. And I think to get net zero, we need to, as I say, make it safer.
As a provider of transport in the UK today, there are many, many, many challenges to it. Where I see the biggest ones are obviously cost is the major one. Cost both of operating costs, operating centres, and the day-to-day costings, fuel, consumables, etc. It's an industry that nobody wants to pay for, but is a necessary one for the supply chain to be involved in, because I think COVID showed us that when transport dries up, the economy suffers, and we can't let that happen again. Yeah, our customers' demands are constantly changing, evolving, and we have to change and evolve with those demands, because every customer is unique and every customer needs a unique answer. So the challenges that we are currently facing are remarkably different to the ones of 30 odd years ago. Life was possibly simpler then. Now it's more complex, but the industry is considerably safer in that length of time, and the answers are now given to the customer both in production of whatever we're doing and in a cost-effective manner for both the client and the general public.
So the demands for customers, or from the customers to us, is evolving, because a lot of work now, they want to try and do it off track. So yes, we still need to be able to get onto track to do certain things, but they want to be able to have a lot more remote monitoring in place, so that we don't have to keep sending members of Network Rail or contractors onto site where it is a dangerous area. So we're always looking at new innovations and new ways in which we can aid that area. So like I said, remote monitoring, being able to log in on a laptop rather than actually turning up to site is quite important. And we're getting busier. More people want to use trains, more people want to get to places quicker. So trying to do these installs and design works that's not obtrusive to the track is quite important. So the needs of trying to get onto the track are quite hard.
Even though the sector still faces some challenges, the future seems bright. As the industry continues decarbonising and a focus is placed on updating local infrastructure, there is no doubt that there are positive developments to come.
So for several years, I've been working closely with Quattro. We get on very well. That's obviously a good thing. I understand Quattro now very, very well. I understand what they're doing, what their aims are, and Quattro understand us. We, at the Centre for Future Clean Mobility, we are very, very much industry facing. So we do understand the needs of businesses like Quattro. So our relationship started several years ago now. Bob from Quattro came down to visit us because we are close to Liverton, the Quattro depot here at Liverton, to just have a look, see what was available in the local university, especially in terms of clean power. I'm really glad I met Bob because we hit it off straight away. I'm very much all about clean power. At the time, I'd just finished a project converting a large defence vehicle to clean power. Bob thought this was good, brought John Murphy, so the owner and managing director of Quattro, down. Again, we hit it off. We're all about delivery and on industrial timescales, so that's what they wanted to hear. And we started to develop a proposal for a KTP, a knowledge transfer project. That was successful. We employed David Moss, who now works for Quattro, and we did a fantastic project, and we took a MUP, a mobile elevated work platform, was using diesel, operates on rail, around the back of your house, my house, around the back of an office or a school or hospital, whatever. All of those emissions are from diesel are a fact of life. It needs to be cleaned up. That's what we were doing, and it was a fantastic job, and we won an outstanding KTP Project of the Year award for that project by KTP.
The need to promote the specialist infrastructure equipment and moving over to EV is important to save the planet, reduce our carbon footprint, and for a sustainable business going forward. The use of combustible engines is starting to fade out. The use of diesel is starting to fade out. So Quattro are moving with the times to try and create an upcycle of vehicles where the carbon has already been spent on the vehicle to create the most sustainable future possible within the railway industry.
I can see Schweitzer Electronic developing in the coming years in our product portfolio increasing, improving. We have good, solid technology, simple to use, simple to maintain, simple to install. What we're doing now is we're actually enhancing and developing more what we already have. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. What we're doing is we're trying to work with what we have, promote it more, and tell people it can do this as well, and we can do this as well. We're using it as a core product. And I think using our technology and our know-how of keeping things simple is helping the industry understand it doesn't have to be complex. It doesn't have to take for years to implement. It can be done very quickly, very easily, and cost effectively.
In recent years, there have been great strides made in the journey to sustainability. Some questions still remain. How committed is the UK government to decarbonising the sector? When will the UK be equipped with the proper infrastructure to support decarbonisation efforts? And will the UK indeed achieve net zero by 2050?